Hey guys, Sensei here, and welcome to another Shadowlands beta video. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about the different Mage Legendaries. Now, I'm actually testing one right now where it's called the Sun King's Blessing, and it gives you after 6 hot streaks, as you're consuming 6 hot streaks, it'll make your next non-instant pyroblast cast within 15 seconds, um, give you combustion for 6 seconds. So, you can see the buff right now building up combustion. I've got 4 of them, so once I get to 6, then when I cast um, Pyroblast non-instant, then it'll give me, see, now it'll give me combustion, and it hits harder because of my talent. So now I have combustion for 6 seconds. So it's just, it's a way to get some more combustion out of it, and that's pretty cool, I think. And I really like it because it has synergy with a talent. So you can hit with a really hard hitting non-instant cast pyroblast, and that same pyroblast will then grant you combustion for 6 seconds. And that's just more combustion. As long as you're consuming hot streaks, you're able to keep those combustions up even outside of the 2 minutes. And yeah, anytime you can change up your rotation a little bit because you would normally never use a non-instant cast pyroblast because it takes so long, but when you get such a benefit of it, it mixes things up a bit, and I think that's always cool for legendaries and talents to do. So for the next Fire Mage legendary, we have each consecutive critical strike you deal will increase the critical strike damage by 2%. Now this legendary does technically work with all specs, though I was only able to craft it for fire. It's technically meant to be a fire made legendary, and fire's going to get more benefit out of it because they're more likely to get multiple crits in a row because of how their um, mechanic works. And then we have casting 30 fireballs or pyroblasts will call down a meteor on your target, and then hitting an enemy player counts as double. So that's interesting. This is the first one I've actually seen that actually mentions anything about PvP. And then when Hot Streak activates, you have a low chance to cause all Pyroblasts and Flame Strikes to have no cast time and be guaranteed crits for 5 seconds. Now that's kind of a cool effect. I don't think it currently works. I was on the training dummy for a while and I haven't seen it. It does say low chance, which is kind of concerning, but I haven't actually seen it activate. But being able to get, guaranteed Pyroblasts and Flame Strikes is great for either single target or AoE. And now for Arcane, we've got Arcane Barrage deals an additional 40% damage against targets below 35% health, so just makes that kind of a stronger, gives them like an execute style move. And then Evocation grants 2 arcane charges, and then while channeling, your intellect is increased by 2% every 0.9 seconds, and it lasts for 30 seconds. So that's kind of a cool little increase on your Evocation to give you more, just gives more benefit out of using it, and a DPS increase. And it increase the damage done by arcane missiles by 10%. And it'll also, whenever it hits an enemy, the damage of your next arcane barrage is increased by 2%. And that effect will stack, so kind of a cool synergy there. And then while you have temporal displacement or other similar effects, you may use time warp at a reduced effectiveness. Grants 15% haste. So it's kind of like you get a half time warp. Yeah, instead of 30%, it's 15%. So it's similar to one of the Legion legendaries. It just when after you've used time warp or bloodlust or whatever, you can do it again and then get like half of the benefit. Okay, so for general legendaries, we have casting Frost, Fire, and Arcane spell within 10 seconds of each other will increase your crit strike damage of all your spells by 10%. And that can only occur once every 30 seconds. I believe this was an anima power. And kind of interesting too because, now that mages have access to, having multiple spells, let me just try that real quick. You can use, Fire, Frost, and Arcane. Of course, I don't actually have an arcane ability on my bar, so let me just go ahead and do that real quick. So I can go in and cast Arcane Explosion, and then I can cast, like, say, Frost Nova, and then, like, a Fire. And so now I have this buff, it increases my critical strike damage. So, I think that's kind of a cool thing. It makes you, as a mage, use all your different schools of magic. And then we have Fireball, Frostbolt, and Arcane Blast all have a chance to grant expanded potential, which will cause your next hot streak, brain freeze, or clear casting to not be consumed. So that's kind of nice, especially for, well, really for any class. I mean any spec. I think especially for like fire and frost, being able to basically get back-to-back hot streaks and brain freeze without doing anything. And then a defensive one, casting any barrier spell will grant the effects of basically all three barriers. Each absorb has 40% effectiveness. So it just gives you all three of the shields at once, basically. And then we have finally one that I really liked in. It's another anima power. It's your frost, fire, and arcane damage against enemies affected by frost nova is increased by 10% and no longer breaks. Like that's a pretty big deal. So let me just go ahead and put that on real quick. Because Frost Nova is so good, especially for Frost. Because I can attack them now, and it's not going to break them. And as you can see, I was critting. So yeah, that's a pretty good one. Um, Oh yeah, no, it's not crit, it's a damage increase. But still, it's going to let me do more damage to them, and it's not going to break them. That's just very helpful. I don't know if it's the best general legendary, but it'd definitely be a very good one if you're thinking of one to, you're playing multiple mage specs. This is definitely a good one to use because Frost Nova is just a very helpful skill anyway. So being able to stop people from moving, and on top of that, you're going to be doing more damage to them, and it won't break the thing. That's such a strong ability. So I'm glad they decided to make that into a legendary. Now finally we have the Frost Legendaries. Casting 15 Frostbolts or Flurries will call down a frozen orb on your target, and it's another one just like that fire one. Casting hitting an enemy player counts as double. And so now we have while Icy Veins is active, each Frostbolt cast reduces the cast time of Frostbolt by 5%, stacking up to 10 times. And then Ice Lance has a 15% chance to explode into shards of ice when it hits the target, dealing frost damage to up to 5 enemies near your target. And it's increased if your target's standing in blizzard, so a pretty big AoE bonus. And then while Frozen Orb is active, you gain Fingers of Frost every 5.2 seconds. While Frozen Orb is not active, then your Frostbolt reduces the cooldown of Frozen Orb. So that's a pretty fun legendary, I think, to get more Frozen Frost using Frozen Orb a lot. And then there's some I think there is a frozen orb damage increase for conduits. So yeah, some pretty good synergy there, and I'm hoping that the way Frost Mage will work now, the Ice Lance will actually be useful again, because the way it was in BFA, you got to the point to where you just didn't even want to use Frost Lance. You would just use Frost Bolts and your flurry and stuff. So but yeah, there's some pretty interesting mage legendaries. Definitely excited to kind of try them out. And since mages have their all their conduits, you can get a pretty good idea on what you would want to use, which covenant you want to pick, which legendaries and conduits. Of course, the numbers haven't been tuned yet, but mages are looking kind of nice right now. So that's all for my video on all the mage legendaries currently in Shadowlands. If you liked the video, please give a like and subscribe for future videos. And as always, thanks for watching.